Hi, I'm Kriti, and thank you for clicking on this video. And welcome back to this space. We are talking about books as usual, and today I wanted to talk about books that shaped me, books that are very close to my heart, and books that I think you should read in your 20s because 20s are messy. You feel lost, you feel alone, you feel too much, you feel enough, you feel that you're not enough, you feel content with your life, and then you question why you're feeling content with your life because you shouldn't. You feel found, but you don't want to be found. 20s are weird. You want to fall in love, but at the same time, you don't want to fall in love. You want to have friends, but you also want to spend time alone by yourself. You're afraid to try new things. You want to do new things, but you don't want to do too many new things at the same time. It's so confusing, but it's also human. Everyone goes through that. And I think these books capture that feeling, that, hey, you're not broken, you're just human. You're not too much, you're not enough, you're just human, you know. And I have in here quite a few books actually. I actually have a lot of books. Wow. The stack is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which is how I like it. So we're going to talk about quite a few books. If I had to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I think we have in here 16 books. Wait, can I get all of that in the frame? Yeah. Oh my god, the stack fell down, which is fine. Which is fine. I just waited. I was like, fall down, fall down. And it fell, and I was like, you fell. Toxic. But which book should I start with? So we have a lot of books. I also have a romance in this pile. So yeah, a lot is going on. All the Lovers in the Night by Miko Kawakami. This is about Fuko, who is in her 30s and she is a lonely proofreader. Her life is so quiet, it's basically translucent. But things start to change when she meets this physics teacher, and he's nice. He's also helping her to get out of her comfort zone. This book is not a love story, it's far away from that. It's about solitude, it's about the fear and exhaustion of being perceived and the fragile process of connection, which I relate with a little too much. I think this book is perfect to read in your 20s because you are going to find people that you're going to orbit around like they are your sun, but you don't need a sun because you are a whole solar system in yourself. And this is such a magical and beautiful book because it talks about so many things, but it's not a love story. It's about finding a person who can make you feel like you are a better version of yourself, but it doesn't have to be a love interest. It doesn't have to be your partner. You can learn so much from other people, and you can learn so much about you from other people. I think Miko Kawakami's writing is poetic. It's sort of biblical, if I can call it that. It's like a prayer. You just sit down and you read it and you feel amazed. You feel at bliss. And yeah, All the Lovers in the Night. That is going to be the first book that I'm going to recommend. Tuesdays with Maury by Mitch Albom. This is a non-fiction. We follow Mitch, who decides to reconnect with his old professor who is suffering from ALS and he doesn't have a lot of time left. And he is doing this series for television, and that's how Mitch finds him and he decides to go meet him because he was one of those professors. You know how we have one professor at least who just changes us as a person. They have a different way of seeing life and they pass it to us, and with time we forget them, of course, but he goes connect with him, and he was always very different. His way of teaching was different, his way of seeing life was very different. And so he goes visit him and decides that he's going to go meet him every Tuesday and have a talk session with them, just talk about life and everything that's going on. You see them talk about love, death, life, relationships, and so much more. And one thing about Maury is that he's a great listener, because if I was dying, I would be talking about myself. I would make it everyone else's business that, hey, you have to listen to me. But Maury taught me that you have to be a great listener in order to leave an impact. And that is something I want to learn from him. And he has such a beautiful way of conveying even the mundane messages. And this book holds a very special place in my heart. And I want to read one quote. It goes, if you hold back on emotions, if you don't allow yourself to go all the way through them, you can never get to being detached. You're too busy being afraid. You're afraid of the pain. You're afraid of the grief. You're afraid of the vulnerability that loving entails. But by throwing yourself into these emotions, by allowing yourself to dive in all the way, over your head even, you experience them fully and completely. You know what pain is, you know what love is, you know what grief is, and only then can you say, okay, I have experienced that emotion, I recognize that emotion, now I need to detach from that emotion for a moment. When you learn how to die, you learn how to live. Wash yourself with emotion. It won't hurt you, it will only help you. I think this should be on everyone's reading list. I've read this book twice already. I still flip through some pages whenever I feel sad and I feel lost. It's such a beautiful reminder that life is long, it's not short. You just need to learn how to live fully and totally. And such a beautiful book. I have read this book with my mom, and that made it extra special. So, yeah, highly recommend this one. I should stop saying highly recommend this one. In my defense, I make reels full time, so I'm used to pitching a book for 1 minute and then going, read this one. But I will change that. I'm so sorry. On to book. Which one should I do? So it's a very weird pile. I have Happy Place in here, but I also have Stoner. Then I also have Flowers for Elginon. It's a weird pile. So before you see another book and you judge me based on those books, stay for a while. I have a reason for every single book, and these books have made a very huge impact in my life, and I just hope I can pass these lovely books to you so they can help you in the same way they have helped me so far. Okay, let's do Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is a story about Harriet and Wen, who are the perfect couple. You know how every group has one couple that we know are going to be the end game, the power couple, the two people that are meant for each other. That's them, except they're not together anymore due to some reasons, but they haven't told their friends yet. And now they have to go to this annual friends trip that they do every year, and they have to break this news. The only problem being that there's a lot of other stuff happening. One of the good friend is getting married, so they can't just drop a negative news. That would be messed up, right? So they decide to fake date each other for a while just to realize that the reason they're not dating is because they were trying to protect each other's peace. But love is not about protecting each other's peace, it's about being mad together. It's a special book because it made me realize that I love my best friend a little too much. And it's weird because it's been 5 years since I've met my best friend. It's not been a long time, but I have seen her change. I have seen her get engaged. She's going to get married soon. And I just feel I'm a part of every single phase of her life, and she's a part of every single phase of my life. But at the same time, we are not doing things together all the time. And there are so many things that I miss, and there's so many things that she miss, and I think that's the beauty of adult friendships. That's the beauty of having friends as a grown up. You don't get to live with them 24/7. You have to fill in the gaps. You have to be comfortable with the silences. And that is what makes adult friendships so beautiful. And I read this book every year. I've read this book 7 times, by the way, so I shouldn't say I read this every year. because it was published in 2023, I think, if I'm not wrong. Yep, I've read this 7 times, so I read this more than twice a year. That's a confession, but it just makes me appreciate my friends, and it also makes me understand that things happen in their life that I'm not aware of, and that's just the cost of living. That just is human. It's not weird. Simple Passion by Annie Arnott. This is an autopsy of desire. It dissects an affair, not in a plot, but with feelings. And it's a weird and different book from all the other books that I've recommended so far, mostly because they were teaching some sort of life lesson. Meanwhile, this talks about an affair. But I feel we have all been in love with a person that is not the one, that we knew from the very beginning is not the one, but we couldn't just help but fall in love with them. And that is what this book is about. You fall in love with the wrong person, and you know that is the wrong person, but you can't just help yourself. And I think sometimes you have to make a mistake, learn from it, make that mistake again, learn more from it, make that mistake again, and learn again, and then just learn. And yeah, this book is about falling in love with the wrong person, even when you knew they're not the one, even when you knew that that's toxic. So it talks about how when you fall in love with the wrong person, you wait for their messages, you glorify the humiliation, you make excuses for them, you make your life revolve around them just to find out that they were never the one. But you can't even blame anyone because you knew from the start. That I think is a very important lesson in your 20s. That is something I've learned from experience. That is something you have to learn from experience. No book is going to teach you that, but it's going to make you feel less alone. You're not dumb for doing that. You're just human. Have a glass of wine, read the book, enjoy it. Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. I thought you are in dire need of some big sister advice after all that. So we have a band-aid of sorts. This is Dolly telling you her chaotic saga of her 20s. From falling in love with the wrong person, to traveling cities for that person, to making wrong decisions, to being proud of those wrong decisions, to drinking until you die, to swearing that you're not going to drink ever, to cursing your friends because they were just looking out for you, to realizing you were the wrong but still being pissed at your friends, to accepting that you actually love your girlfriends, to realizing that you can make good mac and cheese. That's what 20s are about. And Dolly writes about everything. You have random recipes, you have her going through random things in her 20s that I'm pretty sure everyone goes through. And it's less of a memoir and more of a journal entry that reads like you have written it, and that is what makes it so relatable. I read this book every year. Again, all of the books that I'm talking about, I reread them way too often than I would like to admit. That's just me. It's a bittersweet book about eating disasters, self-sabotage, friendships, and eventual self-actualization. It's perfect if you're looking for something that sums up your 20s. It's messy, warm, relatable, perfect if you love female friendships more than romance. There was a TikTok audio that was going viral. Oh, I love being a woman. Yeah, that's this book. My Friends by Frederick Bachman. This book is about Louisa, but also the artist who paints a very special picture, and about his friends. I think 20s are about realizing that friends are everything and that you don't need a lot of people, just a few people who are going to stay and who are going to shape you. That is what this book is about. She meets someone who is about to change her life, who was also able to change someone else's life, and then she would someday be able to change someone's life. That's like a lot of metaphors, but I just don't know how to talk about this book without spoiling things. So I'm not going to do that. I think this book is special because it talks about friendship and how having friends is enough. It's enough to take you through the dark times. It's enough to be the reason for you to stay alive. Sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it's just fun. It's about summer, it's about friends, it's about being around the people you love. It's about so many things. It's hard to sum up in a few sentences. I don't think I've ever cried this much. I was crying every 2 pages. It was so hard for me to read this book, especially because I have that someone in my life. I'm blessed with a great friend who is always there, who would put her depression aside to listen to me. She would pop a chill pill and be like, "Yes, ma'am, just tell me what's going on." So I understand what it's like to have a great friend, and I also understand that she sometimes puts her misery out of the way because I am more miserable and she can see that and she's like, okay, mine can wait. Let's talk about yours. And I hope I am that person for her as well. Just a very special book that I think everyone should read in their 20s because I think everyone has that one person who is with you all the time. That can be your mom, that can be your dad, that can be a random stranger rooting for you, but we all have that one person. And this book just talks about that. I'm trained by Patti Smith and Just Kids by Patti Smith. I think Patti Smith is one of the authors that I go to way too often, and I've only started reading her books recently, so I can't talk a lot, but I love her music. So if you have heard her music, you know she's amazing. This book is about her moving to New York and just trying to live, trying to find a rhythm, and trying to shape her life into what it is right now. This one is after she was established as an artist. But if you're someone who's trying to shoot your shot, you're trying to reach for the stars, and you're like, why do I have to deal with all the hardships? Read this one. No artist is made without any hardship, and this just proves it. This is your reason why you should be working super hard because once you're over this, you get to sort of live your life the way you want it to. I love the way she rambles. She has a way with words. The way she talks about even the smallest thing, it's weird, it's special. It makes you go, ah, that makes sense. So yeah, these two books I think Patti Smith and all of her books are amazing. I need to read Ear of the Monkey. I love this woman with all my heart. If there's one book that inspires me to post on social media, to post on YouTube specifically, because I know I'm not the best person out here for book recommendations. We have Jack Edwards, we have so many people who do it way better than me, and they're way popular than me. But if there's one book that motivates me to do things that have been done before, it's Stoner by John Williams. This is a story about this quiet professor. He's living an ordinary life. He is in a loveless marriage, I would like to say. I mean, he married because society expects you to get married. I'm sorry, that's a Scooby barking in the background. If you can hear him, I have the noise cancellation on, so I think you should not be able to hear him. But if you do, I'm sorry for that. So he tries to fall in love with the woman he marries, but he is not able to. Then he has this affair with a random woman, but he cannot be in love with her, so it's a weird story. You just can't help but feel bad about him. I think the most important message I got out of this book is that every story matters. No matter how small, no matter how mundane, no matter if that story has been told by million other people, you still should go and tell that story because it is yet to be done by you. The world needs your version of that story. If you think you want to talk about the sun, you want to talk about how summers just make you feel alive, you should do it. Yes, a lot of people have written poems about it, a lot of people have written articles on it, but you haven't. If you want to do a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, do it. The world needs your version. I think sometimes when a lot of people are reading something we write or watching something we make, we feel appreciated. We don't really appreciate the one view, but if a single person was here listening to you, would you not be excited? Would you not get cheered up every time they would smile after you said something? the same message, every story matters. And I think that's the biggest message or the lesson you need to learn in your 20s, that every story matters, no matter how small. You need to do it. You still need to do it because you never know who needs it. There's always someone that needs it. Nothing happens in this universe for no reason. There's always a reason. So just do it. Do whatever you want to do. Don't be afraid. The Trial by Franz Kafka. Your 20s are also about understanding that sometimes you will be framed for things you haven't done. Sometimes the world will start hating on you for no reason. And that's not your fault. That's not anyone else's fault. That just is life. So this book follows Joseph Carr, who is one day arrested for a nameless crime. And when he asks what his mistake was, no one knew. And they were like, oh, you should actually go find that out yourself, maybe. He's about to get executed for the crime he didn't do, he didn't know about. And that is sad. It's about the system originally. This book talks about what happens when the government and the law is messed up. It's about what happens when the rich people have the power, the poor suffer, the middle class suffer. And that is this book. I think I've never felt more sad and helpless about a character in a book ever, but when I read this book, I couldn't help but wonder how the world we live in is very much similar to this. We say that we have better laws, we say a lot of things, but do you feel safe? That is the question. But apart from it, this book, for me, why you should read in your 20s? Sometimes things will happen. Sometimes you will not know what is wrong. You can't do anything but to accept that that was your mistake. You don't even know the mistake. Life happens. It's sad, but part of life. The Nose by Nikolai Gogol. This book is about a man. He one day wakes up and finds out that his nose is missing, just to find out that his nose is out there living its best life without him. His nose is a civil servant now. It's going out for shopping, it's walking around the town. His nose also outranks him and might also marry the girl that he wanted to marry. And the nose refuses to come back home. Everything is going upside down for him, the man, and there's nothing he can do to save it. It's absurd and weird, but it's also a commentary on the bureaucracy and the ego and the way society finds different ways to humiliate you. I just know it changed something in me after I read it for the first time, and that's why it's in this list. Now I feel dumb. I feel people come to me because they think I'm intellectual. I'm not. I'm just a baby. I'm stupid. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't even have a degree in English or literature for that say. I have a marketing degree. Talk marketing to me. Talk dirty to me. Talk marketing to me, I mean. Next up, Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. This book is about Charlie, who is, I don't want to say dumb or retarded because those are the words this book kept on using. He's just not the most brightest person in the pile, but he's full of life and he's the sort of person who actually lives, you know. He's not worried about things happening around him. He doesn't laugh because the world expects him to. He doesn't do things because the world wants you to act a certain way, and that's the beauty of him. But he undergoes this experimental surgery that is only yet performed on rats, and that surgery is meant to make him smart. But the thing about going from dumb to smart is that people are going to treat you differently and you're going to see all the patterns. You know, the people who once laughed at you because you peed your pants. You just have to pretend that they're still your friends, and those people are going to hate you because suddenly you're smart and you can no longer be the laughing stock. It's a weird book. It's about being alienated from the society. 20s in some ways to me felt like alienation. I had people who laughed at me and I was laughing along with them just to look back and realize that they were never my friends to begin with, but maybe they were. I still don't know. And It's a beautiful, beautiful book that I think everyone should read. And it, it's about being human. I think a lot of us in today's day and age, we forget how to be human. We do things and we don't really use our heart. This book teaches you to use your heart. And I think the most gut wrenching part of this book is that you see him go from a really smart person and then he's struggling all over again. I made my best friend read this book and she cried a ton and she cursed me afterwards, but she loved it. And I loved it. I've made my mom read it. I've made my brother read it. I've made so many people in my life read this book. And I just read this book 2 or 3 months back. So that's how you know it's a good book when I make everyone around me read it. Your 20s also make you feel like you're the most important person in the room. And if there's something that can just shatter that delusion of yours, that is The Woman in the Dunes by Kobo Abe. It's about a man. He is an insect collector and he goes to these dunes to find a new species of insect just to get locked up. And there, like the villagers just were like, oh yeah, you can spend the night with us. And then were like, you can never leave now. You have to shovel sand for the rest of your life. And he was like, oh, someone is going to file in a fire against you. They're going to be like, oh, my dude is missing. Except no one does. He just stays there for the rest of his life just to find out that he was never important enough for the government to go hunt and look out and, arrange search parties. His wife, she forgot him. His colleagues, they forgot him. Society, they forgot him. It's it's the you know the hardest thing to realize is being human doesn't mean that you're gonna be remembered forever. People are eventually gonna forget you. That's life. That scares me, the fact that 200 years from now no one is going to even you know have the memory of me. It's Yeah, that gave me goosebumps. It's weird. I'm doing my best to live. I'm trying to do things. I'm trying to contribute to the society, but no one is going to remember me 200 years from now. Heck, 100 years from now, the time I die, the time my kids die, if I ever have kids, no one is going to remember me. That's life. You do things, you chase money, you chase fame, you chase all these materialistic things just to die, just for no one to remember it, just for no one to visit your grave. That's life. I mean, you know what's scarier than being forgotten? Being under surveillance 24/7. 1984 by George Orwell is set in this dystopian world. I mean, is it dystopian or is it nonfiction? Because we live in a world where we are under watch 24/7. I'm pretty sure my MacBook, someone is watching me, They can see me. They can see me sitting on the floor and they're like, ah, dumb bitch. When I post this video, everyone is going to see it. AI might clone me. AI might learn the way I speak, learn my style and help someone else in writing their scripts. That's the world we live in. And that's scary, but we can't help but use it. ChatGPT, everyone goes to it and they're like, I love you. And ChatGPT uses that against you. I read this one article where they were talking about how your chats with ChatGPT can be used as evidences against you, and people still go tell ChatGPT their deepest, darkest secrets. Why? Because they're lonely. My device stopped recording because it got overheated. I think my device stopped working because I was talking too much about it. And my device was like, girl, shut the fuck up, you're going to get into trouble. But yeah, I feel like everyone has heard of 1984. It's a masterpiece. And for those who don't know, George Orwell was born in Bihar. So, Indian fam, read this one, it's really good. You know what my 20s are about? A collective experience for falling in love with guys who don't have their shit together. And me, being me, I'm like, I can fix you, you know? You don't love me? That's fine. I can fix you, you know? And then they're like, oh, I won't let you leave me because you said you're going to fix me, but we're also not going to date because I'm too toxic for you. Adelaide by Genevieve Wheeler. We follow Rory and Adelaide. Adelaide is the girl, by the way. And she falls in love with a dude who is emotionally not available. And she can't help but fall in love with him. It's not love, but a mix of a lot of things. Meanwhile, Rory being Rory, he is emotionally unavailable and he just wouldn't let Adelaide go live because he's scared to live without her, but not too scared that he is gonna say that, hey, we are going to date, I'm going to change. No. Situationships, the idea of it, that's this book. If you ever want to feel less dumb about your decisions, if you want to feel less dumb about being in love with the wrong guy, for being in a 3-year situationship, I'm talking about myself, just go read this book. Almond by Won Pyong Son. This is about a boy who is born with a brain condition called alexithymia, which makes it harder for him to feel any emotion. He doesn't understand sad, happy, fear, anything. And when you're a baby, everyone makes fun of you for being different. You're outcasted, and that is what he goes through, but he doesn't feel outcasted because he can't feel anything at all. And his only support system in his life is his grandmom and his mom, and they die, and he is left behind. It's a very different book, and it made me feel lots of things. You can see the tabs. I think this book is important in your 20s because you're going to stop feeling things. There comes a phase when you stop feeling emotions at all and you start to wonder if there's something wrong with you. But you will still have that someone who is going to stick around. And you won't notice it until years later, until you take a trip down the memory lane and you're like, oh, that person was there. That's this book. You know, he finds someone who is brave enough to stick by him. And it's a beautiful book. I haven't read this one in a long time, so maybe I should. It talks about love, but not the romantic kind because it's weird, And I think Yunja, that's the main character's name. He, since he can't feel anything, he looks at other people, He he like waits for other people to explain that emotion. Oh, that is the burning sensation. That is what fear feels like. That is love. That is empathy. That is sadness. And you can't help but cry. I feel a lot of the books from this pile, they're going to make you cry. That's a 20s summed up in a line. It's going to make you cry. And finally, I wasn't planning to include this book in the pile, but I think it's too special to not include, and that is Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too by Johnny Sun. It's a graphic novel, so you can flat through it, and you can also use this as a coloring book. I haven't. I tried to, but then I gave up. But you can use it like that as well. It's about this alien who is sent to Earth to study about everything on this planet. And along the way, he makes friends, but it's hard to make friends when you don't understand the language, when you look different. And he is very much alienated until he starts making friends. And it's hard in the beginning, but life makes you understand things, and you just have to wait for the perfect timing and things will align. Everyone is an alien when you're an alien too, and that's the beauty about life. I fumbled so many times today. It's wild. Oh, I can also recommend Mr. Celery by Sally Rooney. There's so many books that I can recommend, honestly. But I'm going to stop because I have to go pee, I'll be honest, and I'm also tired. And I also need to complete this one file that I was working on. So I'm going to stop for now. Thank you so much for being here. And that's all the books that I'm going to talk about for now. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for joining. I haven't done a long form book recommendation video in so long, so I forgot how fun it feels just to talk about books, and I should do it more often. Anyway, I hope you have a good day, and I love you, and I wish you all the happiness and all the love and light in the world. And have a great day, have a great weekend, have a great year ahead, okay? Bye.